Well folks, I'm pretty sure I'm framed and lit terribly, because you know, even though a lot of thought goes into some of the videos, the end result is, let's say, a bit Heath Robinson usually. I quite like it like that. You know, the day I get slick and polished, you all really need to worry, because it means I've lost the plot. Talking of losing the plot, this is, what is it, Friday? I think it's something like the 24th of September. Anyway, it's somewhere near that end of the calendar. And I'm sure many of you have seen on the news today and in the papers, Jesus Christ, you'd think it was Armageddon. Fuel shortages, right? One area of the country, a tiny area of the country, one of the fuel companies, I think it was BP, British Petroleum, put out just a little heads up to say, look, there might be a little bit of a fuel supply shortage at the weekend because we haven't got any lorry drivers, which is understandable if you don't live in the UK, and this probably affects you if you even live in mainland Europe. But a lot of our HGV drivers, fruit pickers, seasonal workers, stuff like that, were like Eastern European, and they could obviously move across Europe because there were effectively no boundaries under the European Union. But of course, Britain went Brexit, for better or for worse. I'm not getting into that because I don't do politics. Everybody has their own opinion, they have the reasons for their own opinion. I don't do politics. I've got lefty mates, I've got righty mates, I've got straight down the middle, sit on the fence mates, and I'm quite willing to listen to both sides and all this lot. But what I don't abide is outright leftyism for the sake of it, or outright rightism for the sake of it, and all this lot. There has to be a solid argument behind it, but otherwise I avoid it. Just don't get involved. Because like political aspirations in a family and stuff like that can go back generations. It's something you brought up with. Getting a bit windy. But anyway, I might cut that bit out. I might not. But yeah, so I mean, I didn't see anything when I came home from work, sort of just after 2 o'clock. Usually there's a couple of fuel stations within a mile of me. They're both 24 hours, so it's pretty handy. Both on the same stretch of road. One of them is a Shell, one of them is a BP. They're both very good. But usually the Shell is busy on a Friday anyway, because I'm guessing, you know, people are finishing work, they're filling the cars up ready for next week and stuff like that. So that's always sort of a busy garage. The BP, on the other hand, you very rarely have to wait, because it's a little bit more awkward to get in and out of. But I prefer it because, like you say, you don't have to queue, staff are really nice and all that lot. But I didn't notice it any busier when I came back. Even when I was coming back from work or through Hinckley, because I work just off the A5 and Hinckley at my proving ground. So I go past probably 3 or 4 petrol stations, depending on which way I come home, and none of them were particularly busy, because I don't know whether people have got a bit more common sense here in the Midlands. But you know, it's not like we didn't suffer from the panic buying and all this lot. But it was like, what is the mentality of these people? Right, it's in a completely different area of the country. It's like, let's say, an extreme example. Right, a bomb's gone off in London, right? But people are battening the hatches in like Leicester or Bradford or, you know, Newcastle. It's like I can't get my head around it. It's like like when a celebrity dies, the amount of shit you see on Facebook. Oh, they were this, they were that. You never even knew them. They didn't give a fuck about you. And this is why I detest football, basically. I fucking, when people start talking football, sport in general, actually, I just switch off. Why idolise these people that don't give a fuck about you? And some of them are on £250,000 a week. They don't give a fuck about you. They really don't. you know, most people these days, especially after lockdown and furlough, there's an awful lot of people that are technically well into poverty. They're getting by, food's on the table, the bills are getting paid, but there's nothing else. There's absolutely nothing else. Technically, you're going to work all week, literally just to survive. There's an awful lot of people like that at the minute. And these cunts are on 250 grand a week, whatever it is, I don't care. But it's like, I can remember at the start of lockdown, they're just only a few weeks into lockdown, these fucking prick footballers, excuse my French, this is probably going to be really sweary, which is why we always put not suitable for kids on the video. It's because when I vent. I'm a bit like a John Cleese. I start in the mellow and I just go full on. But it's like, I'm not an angry person, really. But it's like, these footballers, I can remember like these footballers and some of these celebrities tweeting and on Instagram and all this lot, just into lockdown, crying on fucking Instagram and all that stuff. Oh, I'm so bored, all I want to do is play football. And they're sitting on the steps of a fucking £12 million house and shit like that. It's like, get your fucking priorities right, mate. If lockdown taught us in the UK anything, it's that obviously when you grow up you're told that, you know, the good jobs, you know, doctors, lawyers and all this lot, this is what you should aspire to be and all this lot. But the fact of the matter is, the people that actually run this country are not doctors, are not lawyers, are certainly not politicians on their £75,000 a year basic, whatever it is, right? It's your refuse collectors, people like that, you know, your till operators in the supermarkets, your truck drivers. That's a whole separate argument. But it's like, literally, if all truck drivers in this country just went on strike for a day, 2 days, it would close down. The country would close down. There's no ifs or buts about it. Truck drivers could have this country by the balls at any time they wish. Because personally, I find the art of driving, or the art of riding a motorcycle, very satisfying. I'm sure like you are the same. If you had a good drive, or you had an enjoyable ride out, it doesn't necessarily have to involve speeding or anything like that, but you just did everything right, every corner was right, every gear change was right, you saw some nice stuff, whatever, it's, you know, you get your endorphins flowing, it makes you feel good. Because sometimes when you're out on a bike or when you're driving, you're on autopilot. You're not, you know, you're doing something because you have to do it, not because you want to do it. It's like driving to work, autopilot mainly. You're aware, but you're on autopilot. God, I do ramble, don't I? But it's like, we're not that far out of lockdown, to be honest, and there's a lot of places that are still working from home and all this lot, because, you know, they didn't have proper jobs in the first place because they sit behind a desk. It's a joke, people, it's a joke. And yeah, how soon people forget about the nurses and the truck drivers and the refuse collectors and just, you know, the salt of the earth people that work for your local authorities and stuff like that, that just keep the absolute basic services we take for granted going. The water board, the electric board and all this lot. You know, the people that are out there up to the necks in shit just so we can have a fresh glass of water and stuff like this, those are the, you know, the real people that run the country. They ain't politicians, I'll tell you that. But it's like this lockdown also revealed how unimportant a lot of celebrities are. You know, I mean, I can do without pretty much 99.9% of them anyway. I don't get starstruck. I don't really admire anybody if they're just on telly opening the gob, really. And that's as blunt as it gets. But it's like, I despair because like my stepkids, they're both in the 20s, and it's like, or one of them especially watches like Love Island and some of the shit set on a boat and all this lot. But it's like, I don't care how much of it is acted. You know, oh, could you do this? Could you do that? That kind of, you know, like the Love Island thing. I detested, not Love Island, sorry, Towie. The Only Way is Essex. We have this programme in the UK called The Only Way is Essex, and I'll tell you what, if you met these people in real life, you would be doing them a favour by putting a shotgun in the mouth and pulling the trigger, because they're not representative of the country and they're not representative of their area. I mean, on screen, some of them are just vile, just fucking vile people. The kind of person that you would resort to cannibalism if you were stuck in a lift, just to do humankind a favour. But it's like, when it comes out that it's, oh, a lot of it is scripted and they're told to act like this and they're told to act like that, then they become actors, actresses, whatever you want to call it. A lot of actresses like to be called actors. I don't know, equality. But at that point, it doesn't become a reality TV show. If you know that most of it is scripted, or even some of it is scripted, right? It's as fictitious as a soap opera, and it should be billed as such. But I mean, you see it, I see it. The young'uns, they want to emulate this lifestyle. So you look around you now, the young girls, the young lads, they all want to look like these people in The Only Way Is Essex and Love Island and all that lot. And I'm guessing just having a gripe, because I don't know what, I mean, our generations were not any better really. It's just, as you get older and grumpy, it's like, fuck's sake. But you know, even like my sister's generation, my sister's slightly older than me, like Bay City Rollers and all that, like everybody dressed like them. Who the fuck are they? Ask your dad. Right, but it's like, getting back to the mentality of this fuel hoarding. I've just got a friend he's ridden from where he lives in Derbyshire into Nottingham. Just every fuel station he's gone past, every one, queues out onto the road. I bet if we raid these people's houses, they've still got 1,000 loo rolls from lockdown, because it's a really selfish mentality. Let's switch the camera off then, visitor. Anyway, can't have been popular, sorry. I'm getting on about this celebrity thing. I don't get starstruck or anything like that. I don't particularly get upset when celebrities die or anything like that. I don't often take part in this inflated grief that goes along. But one thing that did genuinely upset me this week is the passing of a really, really funny man, Norm MacDonald. So to Norm, thank you. Oh, that's nice. Bailey's Irish cream, do like that. I found him very, very funny. I like Saturday Night Live anyway, watched it for years. And especially with the advent of YouTube and all this, like all the old content and stuff is available from the 90s and stuff like that. But I can particularly remember Norm MacDonald as, you could sort of tell that half the stuff he was doing he'd been told not to do. It was a taboo subject or something like that, and he didn't care. He just thought, joke's a joke, it's funny, I'm telling it anyway. It might not be my opinion, but it's only what people are going to be saying in bars and pubs and stuff like that. I'm just going to say it. He genuinely didn't appear to care. You know, if he upset anybody, tough shit, that's your problem. And I really admired him for that, because I have sort of the same sense of humour. Some of you might be offended by some of the things I say in my videos. That's your problem. Totally your problem. I might be offended by a lot of the stuff you do, but can't judge a man by my morals. So that did upset me, because I did think, because obviously we didn't know he was ill. He had leukemia for 10 years. But if you look at some of his early stuff when he was, you know, fitter and stuff like that, you can sort of tell he was under some sort of duress. But anyway, quick tribute to Norm MacDonald there. I can't remember the last celebrity that died that I genuinely was upset at. You know, because some of them are really nice people when they're on the telly and they seem on interviews, they're really, really nice. And you think, oh, that's a shame. And that's it. Right, that's it, done, gone. If a singer dies or anything like that, I'm not really bothered. You know, somebody dies motorcycle racing or something, because I don't follow the racing, I don't know who they were, I don't know what the character's like or anything, it doesn't bother me. But my mates who will watch the racing, you know, this outpouring of grief. Oh, he was great and all this lot. Well, you never met the bloke, or you probably never met the bloke. Some of them did meet a lot of them. But it's like, don't get it. It's not part of my tribe, so I don't get it. But I'm hoping to get out on Nibbler at the weekend. Probably carry on a bit of a vlog. I'll carry on this rant, but do you know what? I'm probably gonna go out. I'm gonna suss out the fuel situation if everybody's calmed the fuck down. And I don't know, I might head for the coast or something. It'd be nice to see a bit of the sea, because we live like 100 miles inland. And for you that don't live in this, you know, in Great Britain's not that big. It really isn't that big. It feels like it when you're trying to drive around it, but it isn't really. I mean, I don't know how many times you can fit Great Britain into somewhere like Texas or whatever, or France. Even France, you could probably, I don't know, you could probably fit Britain into France, I don't know, 8 times, I don't know. I know France is huge. But it's like, we'll suss out the fuel situation, see how many fuck muppets are out on the road. But like, update to the fleet as well. Slinky requires nothing. I tend to alternate cars every week just to give them a run. They don't like stuff standing. I'll try and get Nibbler out every week, even if it's just around the block, just so things move, you know, so bearings don't run dry and stuff like that. Yeah, Pinky, that way, that's another project. She is going to have to be stripped down to the frame to sort the frame out. There's corrosion on the frame, it needs doing. So that probably be a winter project. We'll get the bike lift out, get her on the lift, and strip her down to her knickers and see what she's like. But Mrs. Shed's not, she's not coming up from the Oxfordshire mansion this weekend to the rural retreat, because we've got it around here too. There's a sickness and diarrhea bug going around, and I think there's 7 people in her office currently, and like 4 of them are off with it, so she just ain't risking it. She isn't risking bringing anything up here, which is fair enough, because she's considerate like that, and I'm sort of the opposite. It's just like, yeah, fuck 'em, if they catch it, they catch it. But it's like, I'm just like that. I'm not really, yeah, I am. So that's the plan. The plan for the weekend is I want to get out on Nibbler. I would love, if I really like a bike, I take it to the coast. That is my sort of ultimate test ride, is that I will usually get up quite early in the morning, you know, before all the shopping dickheads are out, and I will ride usually to the east coast, Hunstanton, Cromer, if you know those places, or somewhere like that. See the sea, because it does you good. And I literally just stop for a piss and a Mars bar, and I'm riding back home again. I would like to say I've never been the person that could sit all day on a bike just for the hell of it, because for work sometimes we have to. But ever since becoming a test rider, like 2009, 2010, you find that because you ride, you've ridden a motorcycle all day. I mean, some of the tests we do take 6.5 hours. That's no way of cutting it any other way. That's how long they take. So you're in the saddle for that amount of time. And alright, if you're a courier, or, you know, police motorcyclist, blood biker, anything like that, you'll know what that feels like. I mean, a courier would probably laugh at that. Test riders of old, you know, in the old days of Triumph and people like that, they could do 700-800 miles a day, right, on roads that weren't tarmacked and stuff like that. They were literally out for 20 hours a day, some of them, because, I mean, that's a different generation. They're, you know, different ethic altogether. I mean, we now work 8-hour shifts unless it's a special job, and then you know, we do it like that. But I've found that since doing that, say you have a week riding motorcycles at work, people think, oh brilliant, you've got a brilliant job. Try it in the middle of February when you're bordering hypothermia every time you get home, or you know, you're riding in conditions which means your bumhole is permanently making buttons on the seat. It's grabbed the seat cover because it's a bit dodgy, because a lot of we do durability, which is, I'll try and get a picture of it. If there's a picture on the internet which is publicly available, I will show it. But we have a surface at work called the Belgian Pavé, and it is exactly as it's described. it's a cobbled road, much like actually what the Romans would have had. The Romans had cobbled roads. If you've ever been to Rome or anywhere like that and seen the old genuine Roman roads, which are still cobble, we have test surfaces like that at work, and basically a lap is, I think it's just under a mile, but the inputs it puts through the chassis of whatever's on it equates to 100 miles road wear. So one lap, just under a mile, you've put 100 miles wear on that, on the bike. Funnily enough, it doesn't affect tyres that much, but that's a whole different thing. You know, we've had stuff at work that's broken a lap, literally a lap. It's broke, go back, redesign it. But that's what we're there to do. The ultimate goal of any test rider, and there are test riders at work and that I've worked with in the past that I really do admire and look up to, and they know who they are. One of them actually wrote a very good book called Test Rider, and it's a guy called Julian Amos. If you're very, very lucky and you look on eBay or Amazon, put in Test Rider by Julian Amos and you may get a copy. I think it might be going into another print run, but he was basically sort of Triumph's chief test rider, Hinkley Triumph, and you know, he went all over the place on prototype bikes, literally went all over Europe and all that lot, and it's an anecdote of sort of his life as a test rider. It's a very good book, really good book. I mean, it needs a part 2, to be honest, and I've insisted I'm in it. Yeah, but I've known Jules and Ray and Ons and all that lot years now, and I've always looked up to them because, you know, it's funny because they've always said we don't want to do what you do because we do durability and it's rough, it's hard, you know, or emissions, which is just fucking dull. It's so dull, but it has to be done. It has to be done. You know, real life emissions testing and doing an emissions test is you're clocking up thousands of miles on one machine in a very short space of time. Some of these test machines run for 2 8-hour shifts in a day, you know, and there ain't many bikes that do that and out in the real world. Bike testing is harsh. A motorcycle is a harsh environment anyway, but bike testing is like double harsh, but it's enjoyable. It is enjoyable, but you have to be a special kind of nutter to do it. So that's about 20 minutes I've ranted on now, so I'm going to wrap this up, this bit. I'm sorry if I've whinged, but God, some people do half annoy me, and I probably annoy a lot of people, which I'm very happy about. But yeah, so if I do go out on Nibbler, I'll tag it onto the end of this. If this is all you're seeing, there was no ride because there was no fuel. Nibbler's actually got, I would say, I don't know, probably about a quarter tank at the minute, so it's not like I can't get out and do it, but obviously we'll check tyre, I've got to check tyre pressures and stuff before I do anything, so I might do that tonight. Because the idea is I want to get up, if I get up in the mood to ride, I've got to get up and do it, because it's far too easy after a week at work, you know, to sit there in your pants, literally, just sit there in your pants and spend the rest of the weekend sucking pot noodle gravy off your t-shirt, because, you know, it's rock and roll life. So anyway guys, I hope you're all well, because I know there's a lot of crap going around at the minute. But yeah, state of the fleet, Slinky needs nothing. I tried to change the spark plugs the other day, but it's like, you know, when you start first getting a turn on the spark plug and you think, don't want to pursue this, because it feels like it's been threaded into like granite. You get that gritty feeling. Because funny enough, the castings on that Mercedes engine are not actually brilliant. They're not that sturdy. It's quite surprising. So I gave up on that and I'm just like, put it back, leave it well alone. So yeah, that's alright. Rosie the Rover, she's running alright. So this is the difficult part about when you say, oh, I'm going to do a video every week. Sometimes there is literally nothing to film, which is half the reason why I was trying to get a setup where I could do a vlog, because at least if you can get out, you can just have a bit of a natter, and you know, it's just one of them. So sorry if I've rattled on this one, because I can literally taught the arse off a donkey. But usually I'm quite quiet. I'm usually quite a solitary person, and I'm quite quiet, but yeah, you press the start, I don't stop. So anyway guys, have a good weekend, and I think we'll leave it there. I want to finish with Bailey's tribute to Norm and all those who have oh, I must mention, during lockdown we lost a good friend, and many of you may even know him, Pete Thompson. He was my rally dad. He used to go to practically every bike rally going, especially in the Midlands. But he was like a right character. If you've ever watched any of the Terry Pratchett Discworld films, or you know of the books, there is a character in it called Cohen the Barbarian, a piss take of Conan obviously. But Cohen is like, God knows how old. He's a wiry old man with a big grey beard and all this lot. And if you know, you know. And I always called Pete Cohen because he looked just like him. He looked just like Cohen the Barbarian, and he had several nicknames, the Laughing Gnome and all this lot. And it's actually his. He died during lockdown, and he's well planted now. And even just riding past where he's buried, I get a lump in the throat. I'm getting one now. And it's his memorial on Sunday, and I'm in two minds to go, because yes, I will see a few people that I've not seen in years, but also I sort of like to pay my respects in private. You know, a lot of people can understand that, but there's also a niggling thing. I'm quite careful of who I socialise with. And there's going to be an awful lot of people there that I have never met. COVID rules are going to go out the fucking window, because people I haven't met in a long time. There's going to be hugging and kissing and all that crap. And to be honest, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that's a big no-no, because I can't afford to get ill, even if it's just to catch a cold. Just a cold, sickness and diarrhea. I can't afford to do that. I really can't. You know, the other week was about the first full week I've had at work since the end of lockdown, and I'm a lucky one. So we'll see. So genuinely guys, this is now goodbye for this video, because we've waffled on a bit too much. We're now losing the light. It's not actually that late, but the nights are drawing in. It's getting autumnal, one of my favourite seasons. I think I love autumn and spring. Autumn because you see things change, and spring for exactly the same reason. It's a blooming of life. But I love winter if I've not got to go anywhere. I love snow if I've not got to go anywhere. Stuff like that, I think it's beautiful. Summer you can stick up your arse. Summer is supposed to be the biker's season. You know, oh right, that's another thing that fucking winds me up. Riding season. There is no riding season. If you're a test rider, your riding season is, you know, like January the 2nd to December the what. That's just a fact, and it's the same if you're a courier, the same if you're a police motorcyclist, the same if you're a blood biker, whatever. So that's one thing that just really irritates me, because everything now is geared around motorcycling as a leisure industry. You know, which is, hey ho, keeps money into biking, I suppose. But yeah, shut up, Jim.